Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this video is another video on graphing quadratics. Okay, and I'm going to be as thorough as possible, but also as quick as possible. But anyways, let's get straight to the point here. I'm going to graph actually this one, and as I'm going to talk about here a little bit more detail, these are both, notice, in a format called Vertex Form. Okay, Vertex Form. And I'm also going to graph this third one as well as this fourth one. And you'll notice that these look different. These are called intercept form. Okay? So, to get a little bit more specific, guys, there's basically three types of quadratics that you can graph. You have, first of all, the one that's in standard form, which we won't do in this video. I'll do it in my next video. But as you notice, we had a couple that were vertex form, a couple that were intercept form. So you got to be familiar with how to work with all three of these forms. So pause the video if you need to jot this down. Okay, so there's three types of forms again: standard, vertex, intercept form. And we're going to do two of them in this video. Here are basically the steps. Now, I know, again, some other teachers teach other clever tricks of the trade, but really, guys, when you graph, it really comes down to these main steps. Number one, you really ought to have some form of table. I mean, after all, you need some organized set of points to make your graph come true. Okay? So when you set up your table, the key thing, though, is you don't want to pick any number. Sometimes it's nice to pick convenient numbers like 0 or whatever, okay? But that doesn't always work. The key thing is you got to pick those right input numbers to put in your table. And then finally, you complete the table and you graph. So pause the video again if you want to jot this down, if you're making notes or whatever. Okay? So you'll notice every time we're going to make a table, pick the right points, complete the table, graph the points. We should be done. Okay? So let's go ahead and start with this one here. Number 5, that was on the worksheet. Now this again is intercept form. And so notice step 1, I'm going to make a table. Okay? I'm going to make a table. And the key thing, step 2, I need the key points. Now with intercept form, guys, I usually just look in my parentheses and I use the 0 property. What minus 2 makes this graph 0? Well, 2 minus 2 makes it 0, correct? Let's look at the next one. What minus 4 makes it 0? 4 minus 4 makes it 0. So you notice in my table I put in my two zeros, as we call them. They're also called our intercepts. Hence the name intercept form. Okay? And notice I left a space, because mentally thinking, I know the perfect number between them is 3, isn't it? And you know what? That perfect middle number is also going to end up being our vertex. When you go perfectly between our two zeros, guys, you will find the vertex. That's another cool thing you ought to try to understand and remember. But anyways, my table only has 3 points, which usually is enough to graph. But guys, usually I do 5. That's my usual rule in class. So notice all I did was just keep counting in order. My table has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in it. Correct? And I'm ready to complete the table and graph. So let's see here. Let's start with 1. And I'll have 3 times 1 minus 2 times 1 minus 4. And I'm going to do some of the math in my head. Okay, guys? I know 1 minus 2 is negative 1. I know 1 minus 4 is negative 3. After all, we do parentheses first. And so if I do 3 times negative 1 times negative 3, I'm pretty sure that's a 9. So I know 1 is a 9, correct? 1 is a 9. Okay, let's try 2. So I'll use black this time. So 2 I'm going to plug in. I'm going to get 3 times 2 minus 2 times 2 minus 4. Wait a minute. I already know 2 minus 2 is 0, so that's just going to become a 0, isn't it? And we already know 4 is going to be a 0, right? So let's now find our vertex, which I'll do in green again. So I got 3 times 3 minus 2 times 3 minus 4. So 3 minus 2 is 1, parentheses first, right? 3 minus 4 is negative 1, so I get 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. And 5, guys, to save time, if I plug it in, try it, I will get 9. Now, you'll notice that 9 I'm not going to be able to graph. But let's see what we have here with our given table. I know that 1 would be 9, which is way off the grid. I know 2 would be 0. I know 3 would be negative 3. I know 4 would be 0. So you can see here's basically what my graph is going to do. I missed my vertex still there, didn't I? So that was 3 was negative 3. So let's see if I can do a better job. Decent job. But anyways, guys, that's how you graph. You make a table, pick the right points, complete the table, plot the points. Okay, let's pick up the pace a little bit anyways. Here we have another one in intercept form. Okay, so let's start by making our table. And again, using the 0 property, I'm going to look right in here. What plus 5 is 0? Well, that's negative 5. Okay. Looking right here. What plus 1 is 0? Well, that's negative 1. And notice I left a space because I'm going to keep my numbers in order. Negative 4, negative 3, negative 2. Now, the cool thing I hope you realize, notice how the 3 right there is perfectly in the middle, right? That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our vertex. Okay? So, let's fill in the table. Let's start out with negative 5 here. So, negative of negative 5 plus 5 times negative 5 plus 1. Wait a minute. We already know that's a 0. So, that's going to be a 0, isn't it? And also, negative 1 is going to be a 0. Okay, let's do negative 4 next in purple. Negative of negative 4 plus 5, negative 4 plus 1. So 5 minus 4 is 1, negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. I'm going to get negative 1 times negative 3, which is 3. Now at the same time, guys, negative 2 is going to be 3. We call that symmetry. Alright, all I need is one more point, negative 3. Negative of negative 3 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 1. Let's see. 5 minus 3 is 2. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. I get negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. So let's plot our points. Negative 3 is 4. Okay, negative 3 is 4. Negative 5 was 0. Negative 1 was 0. Make that a little bit neater there. All right. Negative 4 was 3, and negative 2 was 3. And here, guys, you can see is my graph. So pause the video again if you need to. Okay, let's take a look at another one. This one's vertex form. Notice the setup right here, guys. So again, step 1, I'm making a table. Step 2, using the 0 property. What minus 3 is 0? 3 is 0. Now what's cool about vertex form, guys, is this 0 number right here is my vertex. Okay? Now to complete the table, guys, again, I have a rule of 5 points. So you'll notice I'm going to count up 2, 1. Count down 4, 5. See how I kept the numbers in order again. Okay? And let's complete the table and graph it. We might as well start with 1. So I got 1. I'm going to use green here. I got 1 minus 3 squared plus 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2 squared. I get 4 plus 1 is 5. By symmetry, guys, 5 is also going to be 5. Let's start with the 2. Next, in blue, 2 minus 3 squared plus 1. That's negative 1, but when I square it, 1 plus 1 is 2. By symmetry, 4 is also 2. And finally, the vertex is 3. And again, notice, guys, with 3, I know 3 minus 3 is 0, right? So I'm going to get 0 squared, or 0 plus 1, which is 1. And graphing it real quick, I know 1 is 5. I know 2 is 2. I know 3 is 1. I know 4 is 2. I know 5 is 5. So here would be my graph. Pause the video again if you need to. One more, guys, and we're done. Notice again, this is vertex form. I start out how? That's right, I make a table. That's step 1. Step 2, I pick the right points. I use the 0 property. What minus 4 is 0? Well, that's 4, of course. Now I need more input values, so I'm just going to count up. 3, 2, down, 5, 6. See how I kept them in order, guys? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember to keep them in order. So let's fill in our table. Let's start with 2. 1/2 of 2 minus 4 squared minus 2. 2 minus 4 is negative 2, but squared is 4. So I have half of 4 minus 2. And 2, half of 4 is 2, minus 2 is 0. Guess what? 6 is also going to be 0. Okay? Let's do 3. I'll do it in red. So 1/2, 3 minus 4. That's a 3 right there, guys. Squared minus 2. 3 minus 4 is negative 1, but squared is 1. So I have half of 1 minus 2. Half of 1 is 1/2 minus 2 is negative 1.5. By the way, guys, if you don't have a calculator, get one, okay? And feel free to use your calculator on these, but that's negative 1.5 or negative 1.5. Now, guys, all I need is my vertex. I'll do that in green. 1/2 of 4 minus 4 squared minus 2. Hey, that's 0. Half of 0 and 0 squared is still 0. Minus 2 is negative 2. So I'm ready to graph. 2, 0. 3, negative 1.5. 4, negative 2. 5, negative 1.5. 6 is 0. Here is my graph. So pause the video one last time, guys. Okay, guys. I hope you got something out of this video. I did 4 graphs. 2 of them were vertex form. 2 of them were intercept form. Know how to graph both of these forms. Until next time, bye.